Hi, thanks for tuning in to Jamie Elmer Yoga. I'm Jamie, and I'm here today with my friend and fellow teacher, Jess. And I am going to talk with you about shoulder blades and shoulder placement in downward facing dog. Now, we could workshop this pose for at least a week. And different bodies are very different in this position. But I'll just take a few minutes today to discuss with you and show you one of the most common misalignments in the shoulder blades in down dog. Now, if you've ever heard in downward facing dog to press your chest towards the floor or press your chest towards your thighs, that's a really good way to actually tighten your traps and perhaps over time cause a shoulder injury. When we press our chest down too far, or you press your chest towards your thighs in downward facing dog, if your shoulder blades are not spreading wide apart, it's dangerous for our shoulder joint, and it really defeats the purpose in downward facing dog. On an anatomical level, physical level, the priority, I believe, in down dog is to lengthen your spine, not to lengthen it past the point of it being long and into a back bend. And that's what'll happen if you think of pressing your chest down too far. So again, we could workshop this, well, for weeks and years and years. But just for a few minutes today so you can see a good visual. Jess is very strong and you can see her shoulder blades and her muscles in these two different variations. So I'm first going to have her show down dog with her hands a little too close, which is very common, and with her chest pressing down a little too low and her shoulder blades squeezing together, which is really, in the upper body, the most common misalignment in the pose. Okay, so come into it. And again, most people take their hands a little too close together. Most people, when they hear shoulder distance apart, think their shoulders are a little more narrow than they are. So first, notice that, and I told Jess to mess it up first. So her hands right now are a little too close together, I think. And if you notice here, her shoulder blades on her back are starting to squeeze together towards her midline. And you can even see here these big trap muscles popping up. That's tension. So and do this gently, Jess, as you breathe. If Jess thinks of pressing her chest down towards the floor or towards her thighs, she's then really compressing into her shoulder joint here. Her shoulder blades are squeezing closer together, and it may feel like she's going deeper into the pose, but she's actually losing some of the work that she should feel in the pose. So instead, I'm going to have her bring your hands wider apart. And I generally like having the pointer finger forward. That works best for most people. It helps open the shoulders. So she took her hands a little bit wider apart. That'll allow her shoulders to open a little easier. Now, instead of pressing your chest down towards the floor, I'm actually going to lift her up a little bit higher. So I just use my hands here to help lift gently. And now her shoulder blades are spreading nicely apart. So this is beautiful. Now she's opening up the back of her chest. Her spine is still long. So as her shoulder blades spread wide apart, her upper arms are wrapping down and in towards her cheeks. And she probably can see her arms now out of the corners of her eyes, which is a good place for most of us. If you mess it up again, Jess, if you squeeze your shoulder blades close together and press your chest down, notice first her traps popping up here, danger in her shoulder joint, and she can't see her arms. They're back behind her ears. Your arms aren't designed to be back there in an external rotation for most people. So instead, again, she will lift up a little higher. So now she has to resist gravity and use her serratus anterior muscles. She spreads her shoulder blades wider apart. She wraps her outer arms down and in, and then I usually tell people just place your head and your neck where it feels best for you. There's not one right spot. So now she's actually having to use more muscle effort to resist gravity than she had before when she was pressing her chest down and squeezing her shoulder blades closer together. Does that work? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's work. That's good. Come down onto your knees. So, and you can just do this at home. When we get upside down and down dog, sometimes we get a little disoriented. What's up? What's down? Where are our shoulder blades? But if you are in downward facing dog, our alignment is really the same as when we just reach our arms up. So when you reach your arms up, I would say most yoga teachers cue to have the arms alongside the ears. For most people, especially if your shoulders are a little tighter or you're really muscular, for most people, if the arms are alongside the ears, the only way they get their arms back that far is for the shoulder blades to start to squeeze together, the ribs pop, so the belly relaxes, and the spinal muscles get tight. None of those are good things. So instead, think of bringing your arms a little further forward so that your arms are more alongside your cheeks. You'll be able to see your arms out of the corners of your eyes. That way you can externally rotate your arm. So the outer arm wraps forward. Sometimes I say that's hollowing in the underarm. The shoulder blades then spread apart, and you can absorb your ribs in so that you're not in a back bend. So anytime you hear reach your arms up alongside your ears, think of cheeks instead. And then the arms are in the exact same position as they need to be for downward facing dog. Simple, right? So just come into it one more time for us. And I'm going to have you mess it up first. So hands a little too close, right? And even if we're not taught this, oftentimes instinctually, people just think that they're trying to press their head in their chest to the floor or their thighs in this position. If you do that, you're really compressing your shoulder joints and you're tightening your traps. Your stomach may or may not be working. It's not as beneficial. So you can see here again that her shoulder blades are squeezing. And now she'll take her hands wider apart, point her finger forward. And in order to spread our shoulder blades wider apart in down dog, we have to lift up out of gravity, right? So that's why I came over, and I just lifted her up a little bit higher first. So then her shoulder joint is decompressed enough that she can spread her shoulder blades wider apart. The outer arm wraps down and in towards her face, and she's going to place her head and her neck where it feels best for her. And now she's got this nice open back. And I'm going to put my hands on her side ribs, breathe into my hands for a couple of breaths, continue to externally rotate your arms. It's hard to change old habits. And then relax your head and your neck again. Yeah. Good. And come down onto your knees. So for those of you that are teachers out there, oftentimes, in this position, again, students just instinctually get the impression that they're supposed to press their chest and head down, and that's not the case. But we have to lift them up out of gravity first, then the shoulders and arms have space to move once they're decompressed. And the other thing that we saw in Jess just now is that when someone relaxes their head and their neck, that will look really different to different people. So for some people in down dog, if they actually hold their chin up a little bit, that feels better in their neck. Some people can completely relax their neck, and that will feel better. So instead of telling someone completely relax your head and your neck, or never go over and actually put their head somewhere or maneuver their head with your hand, tell your students to place the head and the neck where it feels best for them. And that, again, will look really different on people, and they'll actually have to use their neck in different ways. Okay? So in down dog, lift up out of gravity. No need to press your chest towards the floor or your thighs. Spread your shoulder blades wider apart so that you can bring your outer arm forward, arms alongside your cheeks. And you will be stronger, actually, in your spine and your arms, your shoulders for it. And you will protect your shoulder joints long term. So, thanks for joining me, Jess. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, for longer videos, classes of all levels, 10 minutes to 90 minutes, beginner to advanced, please check out my membership site. You can find it at jamieelmeryoga.com. And also, if you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe, like the videos that you find helpful, and I will see you again soon.